The time is now 5:30. We will call to order the city council meeting for the city of Statesboro. Today's date is December the 15th, 2020. We will have our invocation and pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Venus Mack.
Bow your head. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for all the things that you continue to do for us. I ask that you help with the decision making today and that we make the decisions that will best represent the city of Statesboro. Continue to bless us as a whole, as a city, and as a country. I ask all of these things in your name. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move down to agenda item 3, which is recognition of public presentations. Agenda item 3A is a presentation by State Senator Billy Hickman.
Thank y'all. It's great to be here, and I appreciate y'all letting me be on the agenda, and I thank y'all for supporting us and voting for us. And thank you, City Council, Mayor, and Mr. Charles, and all for this. What I want to do, I just wanted to tell you a few things that I observed during the campaign. I think it's all good for us to know, and it's good for us to know as a city. So if I get a little bit too long, and I get passionate, Mayor, please stop me, because I do get very passionate about it. The greatest thing about this whole Senate seat is following in the steps of Jack Hill. The worst thing about this Senate seat is following in the steps of Jack Hill. I've never met anybody I've never known of anybody that had as many friends that Jack Hill had, and he just had the ability to make us all feel special, and he did that. But let me tell you a few things about us. You know, our state is, as y'all know, we are here in Bullitt County, everybody's in a mask, and we all can't wait for that day when we take our mask off. But our economy is still doing extremely well. You know, our state economy, our unemployment rate in the state of Georgia for the month of October was 4.5%, whereas in places like New York, it was 9.6%, and New York City was 13%. And our state, again, for the 8th straight year, was ranked the #1 state in the United States to do business. So we look at all that and we say, well, everything's doing great. And, you know, when I ran for this seat, Mayor, I didn't run for me, and I didn't run for y'all. Well, some of y'all I did, because some of you are still young, but people like me, I really was running for our children and our grandchildren. Because I was born here, raised here, fortunate enough to go to school here and get a job here, and I just want Statesboro to be Bullitt County, just be a better and better community than it is today. So in that process of trying to formulate the campaign on, I ran across some things that I consider critical, and I think y'all have already identified several of those things, but I think it's important to let you know that other people out there have also identified them, and that Billy Hickman, as your new state senator, wants to work fully with y'all and with Mr. Penny to help bring this community to the next level. I think that when I look at things, I see, and y'all identified, we've got a huge poverty rate in our community, and I'll address that in a few minutes. We've got a low per capita income level in our community, and I'll address that in a few minutes. But and the way I see us getting out of those situations, John, is jobs, and we got to have better paying jobs. We have got the ingredients in our community to have that. We got all the ingredients in the community to bring into better paying jobs. We just need to all work together to do that. And let me tell you what those ingredients are. I called it, Sherry heard me say this, I guess a few weeks ago at the Bullitt County Board of Education. And what I'm trying to do, the Board of Commissioners, I'm trying to go around to every city and county in the district, I think I told Phil this, and let them know what I learned so that you know that I'm willing to help you and I'm willing to work, I want to work with you. I look at economic development as really the key ingredients is a four-legged stool, okay? And any one of those legs are shorter than the other one, that stool is going to wobble or it's going to fall over. The first critical leg of that stool is education. We got great education systems in Bullitt County and really throughout the whole district. And keep in mind, our district is Tattnall County, Evans County, Candler County, Bullitt, Effingham, and Emmanuel. Our school systems are doing a great job on that, but the problem is, and our kids are going anywhere they want to go to school, anywhere they want to go to university. You know, Matter a couple of years ago had a kid go to MIT. So we're educating our children. The problem is they're not coming back. And they're not coming back because we don't have jobs for them to come back. And if our children don't come back, our grandchildren don't come back. And any of y'all that are grandparents, you know how important that is. Because you don't have the joy, and I have 2 sons and 5 grandchildren. And our oldest son and his family is in the same marriage. And I'm ashamed to say this, but I know I don't have the same relationship with our grandchildren down there that we do up here. FaceTime and all that kind of stuff is not the same thing as being able to hold your grandchild.
That's right.
So we've got the education system throughout the whole district to do what we need to do. The second critical leg of that stool is transportation. And you've got to have a great transportation system. And a great transportation system means you got to have access to 4-lane highways and interstate system. We got those. We got that throughout this whole district. The third leg of that stool is health care. You've got to be able to provide health care to people, access to health care. And part of that is you've got to be able to keep these small community hospitals. We're very fortunate. We got a great hospital here. And so it's doing real well. The little rural hospitals are not doing well, but I'm a CPA, I understand numbers, and I understand bottom line. And it's not all about bottom line in these small hospitals. You've got to provide health care for these communities, and you've got to provide the jobs for it. You know as well as I do, if you shut down the hospital, you shut down the community. So the legs of the stool are health care, transportation, and education. What's the fourth leg of the stool? The fourth leg of the stool is broadband. And we learned through there's a lot of stuff we learned through the coronavirus, but one thing that we learned is that our children need to have access to education, got to have access to education. And let me just share some things about broadband. I've learned some things in the last few days, because I started doing some more research, that even in our community, and y'all know this, in our community, according to Department of Community Affairs, 12% of the families in Bullitt County don't have access to broadband. Okay, what does that mean? According to the Pineland telephone people and planners last night, that means they don't have 25 megabytes down and 3 megabytes up. Now, they tell me, Mayor, that's more concentrated in Statesboro than it is in Bullitt County. And a lot of that's because most of Bullitt County is covered by Bullitt Rural, and Statesboro is covered by Frontier. So if we just tell it like it is, Frontier has not covered our community. You take Candler County, our next door county, they have less than 1% of their whole population that does not have broadband. They told me last night they only have 4 houses in the whole county that not have access to broadband. So we've got the ingredients, but I want y'all to know that, because that's something we have got to work on as a community to get that to more of our houses. So we've got the ingredients of the pie. We just got to, the city and the county and the development authority all got to work together, Mr. Charles, to make this happen and bring better paying jobs to our community. You know, I borrowed a phrase from a guy named John Evers over in Effingham. He says a hopeless child is a dangerous child. And we don't provide hope for our children, then they become dangerous children. So we got to do that. And we got to have, like I said, we got to have better paying jobs. Let me give you some numbers, and I'm not very proud of these numbers, and I think when I share these numbers with you, you won't be very proud of them either. But they're us. The Georgia's, these are according to Georgia Trend Magazine. The Georgia Trend Magazine, the March issue this year, the average per capita income for the state of Georgia was $46,482. And we've all seen those numbers. Candler County is $31,000, Emmanuel's $32,000, Tattnall is $28,000. Okay, Effingham is the largest area of $42,000. You notice I hadn't told you what Bullock is yet. Okay, Bullock is $32,382. We're $14,000 per person below the state average in Bullock County. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't like being average. I don't even want much less than average. And so if you take, again, go back to my numbers, if you take $14,000 below average per capita income, and multiply that times 80,000 people, that's really a potential of $1 billion that our community could have just to be average. Okay? And what is that? What is that? That's another Georgia Southern University. That kind of puts it in reality. So we've got to work to get to those points. And I think that we will, like what Phil and them doing at the center downtown, and all of us working together. But I think a part of it is to make sure that we all are aware of these. And sometimes, we all get lulled to sleep because when I look around this room, we all doing great. We all look good. We all dress nice. All this kind of stuff. But for the most part, a lot of our community is not that. And not only is our community not like that, but these other communities in the district are not like it. And I'm not just picking on Statesboro. I just want y'all to know this because I'm willing to work for it, and I am going to do it. Let's jump to the poverty rate. The poverty rate in Georgia average is 14%. Okay. There is not a county in our district, this 4th senatorial district, that is not double-digit poverty. Okay, Tappan is 22%. The highest is Emmanuel County, 29%. 1 in 3 people in Emmanuel County is poverty. What's defined as poverty level, John? Poverty level is a person that makes less than $12,000 a year. So you got in Emmanuel County, you got 1 in 3. Bullitt County, we got 28.7%. Almost 1 in 3. Almost 1 in 3. So again, how are we going to get these people out of poverty, and how are we going to increase our per capita income? We've got to as communities, as a district, work together to bring better paying jobs here. And I was at a meeting not long ago, and the governor spoke, and he said we've got at the state level, we've got the most businesses looking at Georgia now ever in the history. In fact, 30% of them are looking outside of Atlanta, which is pretty good. So just kind of think about that, and we got to also think about in our district we got 4 to 6 counties in our district are losing population, and the only 2 that are gaining population is Bullock and Effingham. And I quite honestly believe in the next 10 years that Effingham will be bigger than us, because of the growth they got. So much of is coming out of Savannah. So what I want better paying jobs. I want our leaders to work more together, along with me, and along with John Burns and Jan Tankersley and Bush Parrish, who I talked to all of them today about, and they all know I was going to be here tonight speaking. And I want us to all work together collectively and it's going to be over a period of time. Things like this don't happen overnight, and it's going to be over a period of time. And I want us to think about, I want us to work for the next generation, not just for us. And I want us to think about how we can better leverage Georgia Southern University, East Georgia College, Geechee Technical College, and Southeastern Tech in Vidalia. Again, we've got the ingredients of the pie, John. We just got to work together and collectively get it done. I don't know how many people know, I'm sure y'all know, because I know that Georgia Southern has the only manufacturing engineering degree program. I know you do. Only manufacturing engineering degree program in the state of Georgia. Not only that, we got the only manufacturing engineering degree program within 500 miles of Statesboro. So what does that mean? We ought to be able to attract some manufacturing jobs here, more manufacturing jobs. That's a big thing. Been a phrase a long time called thinking outside the box. Sometimes I think we got to do, Phil, we got to think inside the box. We got to think about what we've got instead of grandiose things. We got to think about what we've got and what we can do with what we've got. Okay, and I learned a long time ago. I picked up this phrase from Kenny Stone. I've used it a bunch. Is there's 3 types of people in the world. There's people that make things happen. There's people that watch things happen, and there's people that wonder what happens. And I think we all got to decide which one of those people we want to be, Paulette. And I think in this room with the leadership that we got here, we all want to make things happen. We want to make things happen better for our community. Education is a big priority to me. As I told you earlier, I want to make sure that that I focus heavily on education, and that's gonna be, Quint Stuber, who most of us heard when he was here, made a statement that you can judge the success of a community by how well a child reads at the kindergarten level. At the kindergarten level. And so we need to look at ways that we can increase our, we actually have got, I feel like now, without looking at any numbers, we actually have got more people getting out of education than we got people coming into education. A lot of that's because they're baby boomers, but a lot of that's because that's just the trend now. And we got to find ways to reward our teachers and keep teachers educated. The other thing I want us to do too, and I met with Charles Wilson yesterday on this, is we've got to find ways to have more males in education. We got to have more males. We got to have more men. Like I was telling somebody earlier today, for a long time, it was not very fashionable for males to be nurses. And they realized they get paid pretty good money to be nurses, and they got job security. Well, we got to provide job security, and we need to have males in kindergarten, first, second, and we need to keep them there for the role models for these children. So it really, I'm here for y'all. I want to help y'all, because if I help y'all, we're helping the community, and that's why we're all public service now. And so thank y'all for allowing me to be here. Thank you for listening to me, and please feel free to give me a call. I think all of you have your cell phone numbers. I have all y'all's cell phone numbers too. So, but thank y'all, and God bless y'all, and God bless America.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Senator Hickman. I like that.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 3B. It's a recognition of Justin Williams for performance and leadership regarding the 2020 census effort. Justin, if you will, you'll come forward, and Kathy, will you come up with him? And Justin, first of all, we want to say thank you. 2020 has not been an easy year. But, and I can only imagine the difficulty of working to put together an effective census plan through a pandemic. And so we thank you for all of the work that you've done to get us to where we are today. And we want to let you know that we really appreciate you, and not only the work that you've done with the census, but all of the work. You've really become a key asset for the city. So we want to thank you and give you and celebrate you this evening.
Front and center, you can't avoid it.
Hey, look, he still got work in his hands. You'll see that? There you go. And then Kathy, you want to get on that side over there?
Sure. And Justin, put the folder down.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right,
He's still trying to work. That's what I'm talking about.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, we'll move down to agenda item C, which is recognition of presentations. To CA is squashing the spread. Do we have Ms. Martin still available?
Michelle, are you still on the line?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. We want to thank Ms. Martin and squashing the spread. Again, 2020 has been a very unique year. And squashing the spread is a group of phenomenal individuals that's come together to really work to save our community. And just to kind of get an understanding of what squashing the spread has done, since we've been faced with this pandemic, squashing the spread has worked to distribute nearly 80,000 masks, not just within the city of Statesboro, but throughout the entire county. They made deliveries to schools, they made deliveries to businesses, they went door to door to pass out masks. They've delivered masks to every municipality within the city. And this is a group with every municipality within the county. And this is a group of volunteers that dedicated themselves to something that was bigger than them to save our lives during this tough moment. And just to kind of let you know how Statesboro and Bullitt County stands compared to other communities our size, when you add our death rate and our probable death rate, you come up to 56. and we've had more than 3,000 cases in Bullock County. To put that comparatively speaking, when you look at Glenn County, they've had twice as many deaths. When you look at Doherty County, they've had 4 times as many deaths. So the work that's been done within our community as it relates to educating the public on the importance of wearing your mask, watching your distance, making sure you wash your hands and staying away from large gatherings. They've really worked diligently to do this within our community. And what I want to say, as we go through these next difficult weeks, the next 6 weeks are going to be extremely difficult, according to the local doctors and scientists and professionals that's in this realm. And what we want to say is that COVID-19 is very real. It is not a hoax, and it's something that's going to take our nation years to get past. But we're going to be able to do it together. We're going to be able to do it by us working hand in hand and making sure that we support one another. And if 2020 has not shown us anything, it should have taught us that we are stronger and better together. So Michelle, on behalf of Mayor and Council and the entire city of Statesboro and County, we want to give you guys the key to the city and recognition for everything that you guys have done. So thank you. And we want to give you a round of
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I make a statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. On behalf of the Squash the Spread Bullock team, we are honored to have distributed over 80,000 reusable face masks, and we want to say thank you to the city of Statesboro. We would not have been able to reach that as many people without your support. We truly believe lives have been saved as a result of this effort. Lastly, I would like to express our regrets for not attending in person tonight. We don't mean any disrespect by that. We hope to send the message to all in attendance and all of those viewing that in order to continue squashing the spread, we remain cognizant of the rising cases of COVID-19 in our community and across the state of Georgia. We encourage all of our residents to continue to remain vigilant in washing your hands, watching your distance, and wearing a mask. Thank you so much. We're so incredibly honored, and Squash the Spread Bullock wishes you healthy holidays.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, next on the agenda item is item 3CB. Do we have a representative from Feed the Borough? The next organization that stood with us lock and step throughout 2020 is Feed the Borough. The pandemic that we're facing has affected us in a tremendous way. And it's going to take us a while to get past this. But Feed the Borough is an organization that during this very difficult time, they stepped up and dedicated themselves to the uplift of the people that's within our community. And this past weekend, I had the opportunity to go out and to see them in action. And it's a beautiful sight, but it's a painful sight as well. Because when I got there at 8:15 that morning, there was already more than 500 cars in line to receive food from Feed the Borough. When I left, I got word that more than 1,000 cases of food had been distributed. But we still had 200 cars in line. So that was 200 families that left with no food. This is on us, Statesboro. And I can't say thank you enough to Feed the Borough for doing what they did to help feed families in our community. And I'm going to say this as a personal privilege. Don't get caught up in these national politics. We are Statesboro. We love each other. We work with each other. We go to church with each other. Our kids play sports with each other. What those folks are doing on the national level has nothing to do with us. And we must not get caught up in that foolery. We are one nation under God, indivisible. And we must show that. Thank you so much for what you're doing for this community. We too want to present you with the key to the city.
Mr. Mayor, as you know, you can't do anything without a good group of people surrounding you.
There you go.
I've got several people back here, part of
Right
my
on.
committee. Would y'all come up here? You guys on the committee?
I know that.
Everybody knows Todd. This is Mr. George. This is Roger. This is Rich, and this is really the person who runs everything, my beautiful and charming wife, Mary.
There you go.
And then Dwayne Grice, but he's busy right there.
All right, so we want to, let's slide you two in the middle here.
Okay.
Ty, you'll come out on this side. There you go, and we want to let you two hold it. All right,
I'll slide just a little bit more this way.
okay.
Trying to get the TV out of the corner. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Everybody smile.
Great.
There you go. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, thank you very much for your kind words, and as the Senator said, this community needs help. There's a great desire for it, in the best of times, this community, there's a great desire for it, a great need for it, and in these times, it's just overwhelming. So I can tell you was touched after Saturday.
Yes.
Each of my guys are touched as well. And so, yeah, I forgot to include the police department there.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Brawlhead there, don't arrest me on the way home, but he's on our committee. But thank you very much, it's a
Thank
great
you.
honor. Thank you.
And I brought masks for everybody, so everybody can get a mask before they leave.
There you go.
All right, thank y'all.
And so we'll move down to agenda item 3C, City of David. Reverend Deloach, if you will, come forward. Feed the Borough was not alone. The City of David, what I call the Robin Hood of Statesboro, they were messing up traffic, giving out food for the families that's within our community. And I had the opportunity to take a look at some video that Dwayne was able to share, and it was amazing to see the City of David at work within this community, working to feed families. And one thing I fundamentally believe is that our community is better because of the sacrifices we make in order to go to the next level together. Reverend Deloach, we want to say thank you tremendously for all of the work that you're doing. And you are a true servant and you are a true blessing from God, because you were doing this not looking for any accolades, no pats on the back, but you were dedicated, you and your people were dedicated to making sure that families and children in this community had what they needed in order to survive. So on behalf of the city, on behalf of the council, we would like to say thank you for everything that you've done. We want to present you with the seat to the kitty city as well. You doing good?
Doing good. I didn't know what it was, but I'm.
Yeah, you know. How y'all doing?
Ready?
Gotta say thank you.
1, 2,
No.
3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. God bless you, man. Oh, yeah, I got it. Okay. All right, we'll move down to what's not listed, which is agenda item 3D, and that's Mr. Penn.
Mayor, members of the council,
Today, we want to present you with the first employee newsletter. And I'm going to ask Lane Phillips if she would, Mayor, if you come down, we want to take a picture first. You can go ahead and pass them out. So first, I want to thank the mayor and council for approving our public information officer. And so we will be publishing a newsletter, employee newsletter quarterly. This is the first employee newsletter published under the direction of Lane Phillips. And so what we do with these newsletters is about our employees. But instead of just printing them up and then just handing them to the employees, we actually mail them to their homes. And so, Mayor, we wanted you to get the first one. But those things have already arrived at homes already.
This is beautiful.
So, thank you, Mayor and Council, for our public information officer, and thank you, Lane, for great work on our first newsletter.
Thank you, Lane. Hold on, are we done? We just want to put on the record, the staff is pretty good at telling us what to do. Absolutely, thank you, great work, Lane. All right.
This is really
No, that's just part of the job.
Lane, I do want to thank you, and we don't do this enough, but please know that the staff that we have for the city of Statesboro, this is a phenomenal team of people. They care about what they do, they care about the people in this city, and they go above and beyond whenever it's needed. So we definitely want to thank them. Lane, you have been a godsend. You jumped right in by telling us what to do. But she is really, really good at what she does, so thank you. And this is the kind of product that we want our city to have, because we believe that, our city is a next generation city. We want our city to be a destination city, and this is how we get to that. So thank you, Lane. Okay. All right, and so we'll go down to agenda item 4, public comments. The first person on the agenda is Ms. Charlotte Stale.
Good evening, Mayor
Hey,
and City
how you
Council.
doing?
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I represent the Bullitt Alcohol and Drug Council, and I just want to make a few remarks concerning the item on the agenda about home delivery of alcohol and also the drive-through sales of alcohol. We are blessed to have several different grants, both state and federal level, that we work really hard to try to reduce underage drinking in not only Statesboro, but all of Bullitt County. And with that, we are concerned about the home delivery of alcohol. One of the things, I have my notes so I don't forget, that home deliveries open an additional avenue for youth access to alcohol. We all know that when youth get bored, they're looking for something to do, and unfortunately, there are a lot of those youth who turn to alcohol. And if it's readily available at the home, then they may be more likely to access it there. Also, concerns about delivery drivers who are not properly trained to check IDs or to refuse sales to people who may already be intoxicated, especially those who are independent delivery drivers for such as DoorDash or Uber Eats. My son is actually a DoorDash driver, and I just could not imagine him pulling up to a residence where they're already intoxicated, and he checks the ID, they're not of age. He would leave it because he would be scared, honestly, he would. So those are some concerns with that. Also, if they do find out that the person is underage, then that delivery driver is now responsible for losing that sale and having to return the product back to wherever the establishment is that it's ordered from. Young drivers may also feel pressured to allow delivery to underage persons. And enforcement of alcohol compliance laws through this type of sale will be very, very difficult. I just want to read to you a little bit about the research that has come about during this COVID pandemic. Alcohol use and abuse has increased, especially among women. Some of the headlines, he said some of us are young in here, but I'm feeling a little old. I got to put my glasses on. Adult alcohol use has increased. These are just headlines now. During the COVID-19 pandemic. U.S. alcohol consumption is up 14% during COVID-19. Alcohol poses different challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic. Excessive alcohol consumption during the COVID-19 pandemic. More Americans are binge drinking during COVID-19. All of these are alarming headlines, especially when we're thinking of increasing the access to alcohol. Women in particular experienced a 41% increase in heavy drinking compared to the baseline data gathered during April through June of 2019. Just think about that, 41% increase. Women also experienced a 39% increase in alcohol-related problems regardless of how much they consumed. Women were taken out of the workplace, put into the homes, given multiple new tasks to accomplish without much support. It's very limited support. Oftentimes, and I know I'm a working mom, we rely on our parents or our other outside family members to help us when we get stressed. And of course, during COVID-19, that has been taken away from us as well. The increase in excessive drinking also increases the risk for other public health concerns, such as depression and anxiety, high blood pressure, heart disease, liver disease, and more. There's also a risk for domestic violence. In reviewing the CDC community mitigation resources, and this is specifically to the pandemic, and specifically for the considerations of restaurants and bars, I found that food delivery is recommended. However, nowhere have I found that relaxing alcohol restrictions is recommended. This is also high risk for our very large recovery population that we have in this community. We have a tremendous population of persons in long-term recovery. When a person is in long-term recovery, one of the things that actually can serve as a deterrent is if I'm thinking about going into a place to buy alcohol, am I going to see somebody that knows me? Because that would be shameful, right? Oh my goodness, I'm supposed to be in long-term recovery. Well, now if I can just pick up the phone, dial to have it delivered to my home, well, that one barrier is taken away. So they're also at higher risk. There was just one other thing I wanted to read here that states, depression, anxiety, loneliness, and physical isolation have all likely increased during the COVID-19 pandemic, and increased alcohol use may reflect and be a result of these increases. At the same time, we also know that alcohol use can contribute to depression and anxiety, which may create a vicious circle of increased mental distress, increased drinking, and increased distress. This is Dr. Michael Pollard. His quote is that healthcare providers, the public, and their families should all be mindful of changes in alcohol use during this stressful time and aware of the risks they involve. So in summary, I'd just like to say that relaxing these alcohol restrictions could increase harm to the general public at any time, and data indicate that the risk for harm is even more alarming during this pandemic. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlotte. And you almost clapped this in. Next we have Ms. Leanne Rancio. I'm saying that wrong. Ms. Leanne?
It's a tricky one. Rand is one of them.
Okay.
There's a lot of letters. And I gotta get my glasses too. My name is Leanne, and I'm a resident of the city of Statesboro. And more importantly, I'm the mother of 2 teenagers. And I just left my son's high school basketball game at Statesboro High, and I worry about him and his teammates. First, allowing drive-through sales is simply promoting alcohol sales. It's making it easier and more convenient to buy alcohol. Do I need to take, can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Why would our community want to do this? Promoting alcohol has certainly helped some cities. Las Vegas and Atlantic City come to mind. But I don't see promoting alcohol as a goal for the city of Statesboro. Second, it would make Statesboro look less safe. There are literally thousands of parents who visit our town every year deciding whether or not to send their children to school here. They visit Georgia Southern and look at the surrounding apartments and seeing convenient drive-in beer stops away from campus, just steps away from campus and campus residents would make me think twice about sending my child here. Third, with thousands of college students, it seems like we want to deter, not encourage alcohol sales. I don't know this scientifically, but it seems to me that if you're checking an ID, it would be easier to spot a fake ID if the person was standing in front of you. You pull out your driver's license, here's the information you see. A picture, the height, the weight, gender, eye color, and age. There is certainly no way to verify height and weight for a person sitting in a car, and I doubt that you could tell eye color and such. And what if the person with the ID is not the person driving, but the passenger? And what if it's at night where the lighting is poor? And finally, I question the necessity of this change. I've not heard an outcry of voters wanting this convenience. And if it's COVID, then it's not going to make us safer to save a few steps of walking in a store. And if it did make a big difference, it's almost too little too late. The vaccine is here. A nurse friend of mine who works at East Georgia is going to be vaccinated next week, which is so exciting to me. And while I'm not planning on eating any restaurants or taking off my mask anytime soon, hopefully the worst is behind us. So I'm just going to say, please do not change this law. As a city resident and mother of 2 teenagers, I do not see it's going to improve our city in any way. It's only going to bring risk, encourage underage drinkings, and make us all less safe. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move down to agenda item 5, which is consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is the approval of minutes from our council meeting and executive session for 12/1/2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'll move down to agenda item 6, which is a second reading, consideration of a motion to approve ordinance 2020-12, an ordinance amending the Statesboro Code of Ordinances, Chapter 6, Section 6-7N4, allowing alcohol beverages and package sales to commence at 11 a.m. on Sunday. Is there any discussion by council? All right. Seeing that there's no discussion by council, is there a motion to approve? Seeing that there is no motion on to approve or deny, we will list agenda item 6 as non-action. We move down to agenda item 7. Second reading, consideration of a motion to approve ordinance 2020-13, or ordinance amending the Statesboro Code of Ordinances, Chapter 6, Section 6-7B, allowing the delivery and drive-through sales of alcoholic beverages. Any discussion by council? Seeing that there's...
I do.
Okay.
I wanted to know if there was anybody else in the audience who was for or against it. I would like to hear what everyone has to say.
All right, I'm against it.
In the audience.
All right, so with that being said, we'll move to agenda item 7. We'll continue with agenda item 7. Is there any further discussion by council? All right, if there's no further discussion, is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, clarification, please. So if we don't vote to pass it, then it dies.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, with that point of clarification for Councilwoman Boyd, is there a motion to approve? All right. Is there a no vote? Seeing that it is a no vote, we'll move on to agenda item 8, which is the second reading, consideration of a motion to approve ordinance 2020-14, or ordinance amending the Statesboro Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, removing Division 4, Sections 2-60 through 2-63, relating to the Statesboro Works Commission. Any discussion by council? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Seeing that there's none opposed, let it show that agenda item 8 has passed. We'll move down to agenda item 9, second reading and consideration of a motion to approve ordinance 2020-15, an ordinance amending the Statesboro Code of Ordinances, Chapter 62, residential subdivision incentive program by replacing the current code with the new Article 1 and Article 2. Any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there's no discussion.
Mayor, I did have one comment. It was Kathy. You had put something in there regarding the natural gas, but that language made it sound like you had to do, a water heater, a fireplace, and a stove. You had to do all three, but not everybody's gonna necessarily want a fireplace. So I didn't know how restrictive that language was. This would have been the amendment that we added for natural gas?
Yes, correct, yes.
And I'm sorry, I don't have that
Yeah.
language right in front of me, but it read as requiring all three.
Yes,
And I
that's,
thought that was just a bit much.
that is the way it's written. It says, for both articles, Article 1 and Article 2, natural gas plumbing must be installed within the home to accommodate service provisions as a minimum for cooking stove, water heaters, and fireplace.
Well, that's what I was saying. I would say the vast majority of homes in our area do not have fireplaces.
Okay.
Stove and a water heater would be. So I don't know if we can make that optional as opposed to required. Because not every home's gonna have a place for a fireplace, correct?
If I have a fireplace, I don't want a gas line coming to it if I don't want gas logs. So yeah, I think we should strike the fireplace.
Well, I just want to ask, do we have to get that specific?
Well, that's a better question too.
By identifying all of those various uses, I think, and just want to make sure as far as council's clarification, can we just make sure that gas is accessible to the house? And not necessarily get to the specifics of what the use would be. As long as, like I have a raised slab, but they didn't put gas in the house. But I can get gas to the fireplace, but I can't get gas for a gas stove or gas dryer or hot water heater. But as long as they actually get gas to the house, not just in front of the house, but is laid out so it can be used.
Accessible from the interior
From
of the
the
house.
interior. So if we could change the wording and not get specific for the use of it.
That's fine.
That would be fine.
Yeah.
I would do
I
it
was
for
just
both
concerned
articles.
about it being that specific, because
Yes.
then now every subdivision's gotta have a fireplace, and
Right.
it's like, well, we don't wanna do that.
I think that's a good point.
So we might have to.
I think we're good. I mean, it fits with the substance of what's presented today. If we just say that the delivery that is stubbed out basically to the home, to the interior of the home, with that.
Access to municipal gas must be from inside the home.
Right. We can change that. That would be substantive. I think taking out the specific appliances is not going to need this to revert back to first reading, if that's your pleasure.
Yeah. All right. And so I'm taking it that it is the pleasure of the council. Mr. Bourne, do you want to make that motion with the amendment?
Yeah, sure. I'll move to motion to approve with the amended language of natural gas utility access should be interior of the home, and you can strike the specific appliances.
Okay. Do we have a second to the amended motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let us show that agenda item 9 is
Thanks,
passed with the amended. Okay. All right, we'll move down to agenda item 10, which is the second reading and consideration of a motion to approve ordinance 2020-16, an ordinance amending the Statesboro Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, Businesses, adding Article 11, Sections 18-306 through 18-315, regarding regulation and licensing of mobile food service units operating in the city of Statesboro. Kane, if you'll give us some insight on this, because I know that there was some some commentary from staff.
Right, and Mayor, would you like me to go into what was done, what's presented now, or would you like me to go into the staff concerns first?
Let's go into staff concerns first, because we've already addressed this, if that's okay with council.
So, I'll just read this for the benefit of the public. Mayor and staff, the mayor and council, staff has expressed concern about the revisions to the food truck ordinance regarding placement of trucks in all zoning districts, especially its operation within residential zones. It is our recommendation that food trucks not be allowed in residential zones without receiving an administrative granted variance with conditions, particularly as to the times and dates allowed for operation. We recommend placing 18.316 back in as follows, and that is the section about the process wherein the Director of Planning and Zoning administratively grants minor variances as to when the mobile food services wish to operate. And we would also ask that one of two recommendations here, that we reinsert this language that food trucks may conduct business only within the zones designated for such activities set forth in the zoning section of the city code or amended. In the alternative, mayor and council may direct language to reflect that mobile units may operate in any commercial zoning district, but maintain a specific prohibition on operations within residential zones unless an variance is granted to the applicant. And should mayor and council agree with these recommendations, we would take out the section of 18.309.11, which states that operating locations shall not be denied based on zoning district with operating locations allowed in all zoning districts. The major concern that came out of this from, particularly from our Director of Planning and Zoning, and I don't wish to speak for her, she is of course available, but the idea of a person being able to operate in a vacant lot in a residential neighborhood and coming back every single day, and also within the parameters of the law, as long as they're 400 feet away from the closest restaurant, they can set up temporary seating out there. You can understand where the problem and the concern lies there. Our recommendation is that either they be restricted to areas where restaurants are allowed, or they be restricted in areas where commercial activity is allowed in those zoning districts. However, in the event that a neighborhood wished to do some sort of event, or if someone wished to have some sort of party and wanted to have a food truck for a day or two, the Director of Planning and Zoning could grant that variance and that operation could take place. I just feel, and I agree with Ms. Dillon on this, and this consultant staff is unanimous in this recommendation that we either go with only the zoning districts where restaurants are allowed, or in general, because we also recognize that sometimes food trucks are going to need to operate in areas where restaurants are not allowed, but as long as it's in a commercial area, that would not require the granting of a variance.
Okay, so the options that staff is suggesting is that we only allow in commercial areas, or B, commercial with the Director of Planning to have the ability to provide a variance for residential areas.
Right, Mayor. We don't, that's, whether it's all commercial areas or just those zones for restaurants, we would need council guidance on that if y'all wish to revert back to this way, how it was originally presented at work session.
Okay. Now, before we turn this over to council, let me ask this question. Is there any way that we can tweak this that would not consider a substantial change and take it back to a first reading?
I think this is substantial, Mayor.
Okay, all right, that's what I need to know. So council, what is your pleasure? Any question, any commentary?
Well, as far as the residential is concerned, if somebody, you're talking about operating as a cash business. I mean, if somebody wanted to rent out a food truck for a party or something, they could do that as long as it's not open for business, correct?
Right.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
And that's why the planning director could grant that operation. But what we didn't want to have happen is someone come in and set up a food truck, and it's there 365 days a year and they actually run the business out of a residential zone.
But I'm actually referring to somebody wanted to just rent one for a party, like a 3-Tree Coffee. You don't need an administrative permit for that, do you? If I want to rent the 3-Tree, granted, we're in COVID right now, but in
Yeah.
a normal year, having a graduation party, I get the 3 coffee truck from Moore Park, that's fine, right? We're talking about opening up for business, correct?
You're referencing sales.
Sales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just for a party that's not selling.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That being
That's
said,
all.
yes, I don't think it's a good idea to be selling tacos in a
Yeah, right.
residential
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, I can see how that can get out of hand.
Yeah.
Even though I do like the tacos.
No, I like tacos, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but any further discussion by Councilwoman Shavers?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what has been said.
Okay.
You can move forward.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you allow us to tweak the language
Mhm.
so that we can recognize that someone, as Mr. Boyd was saying, that they were just having a party and they're not selling without that necessarily having to have a variance. But if they were having a festival
Yeah,
Sure.
in the neighborhood and they were gonna bring in food trucks,
yeah,
then
they need to come and see.
they need to come and get a variance.
Well, my first thought, when you say residential areas, almost all of our churches are in residential areas. So if the church wants to hold an event, we just need to run it by Kathy and she'll give you the thumbs up, we're good to go, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we need to get the motion made, and I'm assuming council wants to allow the director to be able to grant that variance, am I understanding that?
Yeah, I would like to express that I appreciate staff looking ahead and kind of, sharing this concern to keep us out of trouble. And I like to be as least restrictive as possible. So I would think not just where restaurants are, we could broaden it to the commercial, like you were saying, and then allow for the other special exceptions by variance.
Okay, so Councilwoman Paul, would you like to make that
So
motion?
moved.
Okay. Is that a second?
What did you move?
Okay, I'm moving that we direct staff to tweak the ordinance such that food trucks can be allowed in any place that is commercial areas, and then it requires a variance, a permit, a variance in order to have any place that's not in a commercial area.
And when we say commercial area, and that of course assumes the ownership, permission and all that kind of stuff, right?
Well, as far as operating close to another restaurant?
No, just because you're on a commercial property,
Right, no,
you
the
still gotta
site,
get permission from whoever has that.
the
property.
site approval process would remain the same.
Yeah, okay.
I just want to, make this statement. Okay, if an individual wants to come in and have a food truck, there's an application process that they have to go through, right?
There
Is
is.
that language gonna be on the application so they know step by step what to do?
That's how we do all our
Okay.
applications. We make
Because
them
this is a
as
little confusing for
user-friendly.
me, all over the place like this.
Right.
So I can imagine someone coming in wanting to open and have a food truck. So all this is gonna be on the application?
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
And my question, just to double check, I'm confused, like Paulette is. I'm not gonna see a taco truck running down my street, am
I don't believe so. You're not near R.
Not unless you hire them.
I? Okay,
Unless
got
you
you.
having a party.
Got you. My neighbors wouldn't let me hire one, promise. Just double checking, just double checking.
Are we also, are y'all recommending language that if it is for a private function that is less than 24 hours, that does not involve point of sale transactions, that the food truck site approval is not necessary, but the truck itself, we're still going to require
Yeah,
that to be
they
approved?
have to be able to do business in the city, yeah.
Absolutely. I will hopefully get it right for y'all on January 5th then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure we will.
So, I need those tacos. Okay, and did we have someone second that motion yet?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 10, which is consideration of a motion to approve ordinance 2020-17, ordinance by mayor and council of the city of Statesboro requiring the use of masks or face coverings in public during the COVID-19 outbreak. And if I'm not mistaken, Councilwoman Boyd, this was something you want to add to the agenda? Oh, okay. So let's get some insight on this, Mr. Penny.
Mayor, members of the council, this actually expired. You had an action that you set for 90 days. It expired on November the 18th.
Okay.
And so going forward, we still need people to practice good. And so we felt like you probably would want to put this on the agenda.
Okay.
If you want to continue to extend the requirement for masks
Okay.
in Statesboro. And so that's why we put it on the agenda.
Okay, well, let's get some feedback from council and find out what the thought process is, and then we can go from there.
Well, my thought process is that we extend the order. Masks need to be worn at this time. Although, you know, vaccinations are coming out, we still gotta keep a hold on this virus. Masks should be worn in public spaces. So I'm for it.
I'm sorry. Point of clarification, didn't we write it before such that it expired 90 days or when our number got below that 100 per thousand? So isn't it technically in effect? I mean, I'm happy to reiterate, but don't we have that in there again?
Okay, so Governor Kemp's executive orders allow for a local face covering mandate if the incidence rate is over 100 per 100,000 residents within the past 14 days. At that point, the local governments are allowed to mandate. However, a local order has to be effective at that time in order for that to happen. So what I did here in section 2 is I said that this ordinance shall be effective immediately and shall remain in effect for a period coinciding with current and future governor extensions of emergency orders empowering local face covering mandates or until revised or repealed by further action by mayor and council. This way we don't get stuck in one of these situations where we're watching the clock and making sure that we gotta get a new order in. What we would do here is essentially say that barring future action from mayor and council, that the local face covering mandate would be enforceable and in effect as long as that incidence rate is over 100 and as long as the governor's executive orders allow for that enforcement.
And we're still there.
And we are. We're right at 200, just under 200, so we're about double what qualifies for the local face covering mandate at this point.
Yeah, the next 6 weeks is without a doubt was gonna be very difficult. And for me, this is a no-brainer. You know, I am encouraged more and more people are wearing masks, but there's still a lot that's not. So, you know, as we get a little deeper into it, we want to continue that everyone do safety precautions. But with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to council. If they want to have any further discussion, and after that discussion, we'll have a motion to approve or not to approve.
I'd like to ask a question. Chief, have we cited anybody?
We have not.
Have not? That's good.
Yeah, the goal is not to write teeth, but to encourage.
That's right, to encourage people to wear it.
To wear the mask, you know.
And just for the record, I want to say, you won't see me going anywhere without a mask.
Oh, yeah.
However, I don't know, I see it telling people what they have to do with their body. You hear a lot of folks saying, government don't tell me what to do with my body. And I know a lot of people, especially some crazy ones on Facebook, they're not gonna wear one, especially if you tell them to wear one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to motivate folks by
setting that example.
By setting an example. But I think I think that ordering people to do it is making more, especially people that I know, not wear them.
Yeah.
Just to spite me.
Yeah.
Well, but the flip side of this particular ordinance is that we're protecting our city employees, this building in particular. So, you know, you want to run your business and not wear masks, put your little sign up and you're run it however you want to run it. You don't want to wear masks at your house, fine. But when you come in and pay your water bill, when you're going to deal with our police department, when you're going to deal with our fire department, you're going to protect those people because that's what we're telling you gotta do.
And I'm hoping we're in a different space than we were a couple of months ago. Because at this point right now, if you don't see that COVID is real, I mean, at this point, you know, you can't, I can't even take you seriously. To be honest with you, I can't take you seriously at this point. 300,000 dead, 100,000 businesses closed. We're about to spend $4 trillion. Yeah, this is very real. So at this point, it is what it is. You know, for the record, I am in support of this. But again, it's at the pleasure of council. So I will ask for a motion to approve agenda item 11, per staff recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, may I clarify, in reference to Mr. Boyum just referred to, as he alluded to, because the governor requires it, this order does still include, for the benefit of those who value personal liberty, from my vantage point, that value
Yeah, get the
personal
opt-out,
liberty
yeah.
over group safety. But for the benefit of those folks, you still are allowed to opt out by having that sign in your business.
Yeah, you still have to opt out. Is
I
there a
still
motion?
wear my mask when I go into the business.
Correct, and you can.
Yeah.
But the business owner can still put that sign up and be in compliance. I just wanted to point out that that is included because it's
Yeah.
required.
We're just adhering to the governor's orders,
That's
pretty
it.
much.
Pretty much.
This is the governor's mandate. So,
Motion to approve, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, seeing that it's not, we'll move down to agenda item 12, which is a public hearing consideration of a motion to approve application and 20-10-05 W&L Developers LLC request annexation by the 100% method of approximately 14.05 acres of land located on S&S Railroad Bed Road into the city of Statesboro, and for said property to be zoned from the R25, which is the single-family resident for Fuller County, to the R10 single-family resident zoning district in order to develop a single-family subdivision. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second, okay. All those in favor? Kathy, if you would give us some insight on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. With your permission, I'd like to address both items 12 and 13 at the same time.
Okay.
The applicant, W&L Developers LLC, requested annexation by the 100% method of the property located on S&S Railroad Bed Road. The applicant also requests a zoning map amendment, which is RZ 20-10-06 of the property from the R40 single-family residential to the R10 single-family residential zoning district for the purpose of constructing a single-family subdivision. As per Article 22, Section 2207 of the Statesboro zoning ordinance, all annexations into the city are to be considered R40 unless otherwise changed. So we are looking to not only annex the property in, but also to rezone it as well. So you'll see outlined in red the property along S&S Railroad Bed Road, and to the west is Kiwanis Road intersection. Next slide. The green area on the future land use map, the green area on which the parcel is located shows up as potential annexation area. The current zoning on this area is R25. And again, this parcel is being asked to be rezoned to R10. These pictures show the surrounding subject site. The top picture is a picture of the subject site. The bottom picture is the western property. And then we have the southeastern property at the top, and then the southeastern property below. The next slide shows the preliminary sketch of the subdivision, showing the proposed 36 lots. This is the max that he can put on this property, because he will have to meet some open space guidelines and some stormwater retention guidelines. So there will be probably less than the 36 that he's proposing. We did a little analysis of the anticipated annual cash flow to the city as a result of this R10 subdivision of 36 lots. And we project on the first year, we project revenue of $88,814, which includes the one-time tap fee. And then annually, subsequent to that first year, we are projecting a revenue of approximately $47,414. Staff recommends approval of the annexation and zoning map amendment under the following enumerated conditions. 1, approval of this annexation and zoning map amendment does not grant site and/or building plan approval as submitted. Project will be required to meet all city ordinances and applicable building codes. 2, prior to construction, commencement on any proposed lot, a subdivision plat, as well as the bylaws and restrictive covenants shall be reviewed and approved by staff in addition to any other applicable City of Statesboro subdivision regulations. 3, a percentage to be determined by the city shall be reserved for open green space areas reserved for community use, but shall be properly maintained by the owner, developer, or appropriate association. Open green space areas shall include uses such as village greens, commons, picnic areas, community gardens, trails, and similar low-impact passive recreational uses. Land devoted to stormwater detention facilities may not be counted toward the open space minimum requirement unless the facility is a permanent lake or pond and is designed and intended for recreational access and use by the occupants of the development. And 4, the applicant must install a landscape berm of no less than 10 feet in width at the edge of the property adjacent to S&S Railroad Bed Road. At the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission on November 3rd, 2020, the Commission voted to approve AN 20-1005 and RZ 20-1006 with conditions with a 6-0 vote. That is my presentation.
Thank you. All right. Anyone here to speak for the request?
Captain. Take your
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening. My name is John Dotson with the firm Maxwell representing W&L Development. Ms. Kathy covered all the highlights of what we're asking for. As she said, we're seeking to annex this 14 acres into the city and at the same time rezone it to R10 in order to develop a 36-lot subdivision. Now, we feel like we can get 36 lots and meet all the city requirements. If we can't, it's easier to come down, but if we ask for 30 lots and we can squeeze in 32, guess what? Y'all have to see me again. So we're going to start at the top and come down. Kathy referred to 4 different conditions as part of this. I would like to discuss the last 2. Number 3 is it says a percentage is to be determined by the city. We would like a cap on that percentage. If you want to go with 5%, 7%, or some number. We were just, I would not like to be an imposition on us of 30% that we would have to adhere to open space. So if we could cap it at a reasonable number. And item number 4, in one of our discussions with the city staff, we discussed a landscape buffer, which we are more than happy to do. We did not feel it's necessary to build and maintain a landscape berm. So we will be happy to put in a landscape buffer, 10 foot or whatever the city would require. I'll answer any questions that you may have. I have one of the developers in the audience. If there's something that I can't ask, feel free to ask him. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John.
All right. Now, is there anyone here to speak against the request? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and we'll ask council to go into discussion for agenda item 12 and 13. Discussion by council.
Is there a possibility of doing the berm in exchange for your green space? I think it's important that trail maintain a separation from, I mean, we're every time we build something on there, that trail loses something. And so, I don't know, if I'm just throwing that out there as a possible, you're objecting to both of those things. However, again, it's important to maintain that green feel of that walkway as when we're losing it.
Well, yes, sir, we agree. We're all in favor of putting in a landscape buffer. We'll plant the plantings and everything there. Our concern was having to build and maintain a berm. It's a lot simpler and easier to maintain a 10-foot strip with the plantings. No, sir, we're planning on putting the plantings along there. It's just the necessity of a quote-unquote berm. We didn't feel like we needed to. That was it. And as far as the green, open green space, we're all for that. We were just asking instead of an exorbitant number, let's keep it at a small manageable number. But yes, sir, we're more than happy to put the
And the
plan.
beauty of the berm is it protects the neighborhood from the traffic that's on that road too, so, I mean, it works both directions.
I'm sorry.
I said it works both directions,
Oh, yes.
having that
It does.
berm there.
Right.
But that's just something I threw out, it's up for discussion.
So educate me a little bit. The berm is just the little hill, the wooden, the building in, bringing in dirt and building a little hill is what the berm amounts to?
Yes, ma'am, but you have to also remember too, this is a pretty substantial length along the railroad
Right.
bed. Like I said, we have no problems with installing a landscape buffer. Either it be plantings, trees, shrub, a combination of all of them to screen the back of the buildings from the walking trail. I know that's the intent of city council, that's what's been discussed in the past. Have the other developments done that? No, sir, I don't believe so, but I will assure you this developer will. We will plant, we will have a screen there, then it can be turned over to the homeowners association or whatever entity will manage it in the future for them to take care of.
So I live near there, and I
Yes,
rode
ma'am.
over and looked today, and I'm all in favor of folks coming in and building things, particularly with that R10 designation. We're talking about building some smaller homes, and there are not enough of those to go around in Statesboro, as I understand it.
I think the average size home that the developers are going are somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,500 to 1,600 square feet. These are not going to be starter homes, but for a medium size. So yes, ma'am, I think we can make a nice development.
It sounds like it, and I appreciate that. However, I'm very conscious of balancing what we get and what we give, and I'm real concerned with the environment and preserving the quality of life that we have here, not just along the Greenway, but everywhere in Statesboro, not just in our district. So I don't want to talk about cutting back and trading off, you can have this if you don't. I want to keep it as green and environmentally friendly as possible.
Okay.
That matters a lot. And the fact that there's wetlands there.
Yes, ma'am, there are always environmental concerns, and this is the first step in a many-step process. So we come before y'all, we did a sketch plan, which is what the city requires to give you a graphical representation of what we can do. Wetlands will have to be concerned, stormwater, development plans, water, sewer plans, the whole 9 yards. So yes, ma'am, it'll be a lengthy process. But then that's what we do for a living. So.
Right. Well, I only had the opportunity to speak with a few of my constituents who live nearby and right across the Greenway and all, and folks who walk the Greenway and have some of the concerns that Phil was expressing. And we realize Statesboro is going to keep growing. And this is a much better development, it seems to me, to have small homes with nice trees and landscape across the front than to go to something commercial.
Oh, I agree.
So it's a trade-off, but I would share with the council that I want it to be green. I don't want to sacrifice, cram as many homes in there as you can and sacrifice having the green space in there too. So my approval is kind of conditioned on that. And I know the city looks out for it, and this is just a first step, but I want to make that clear, that I'm really interested in mitigating the impact on the environment.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. What exactly is the percentage? How do we figure that out, Miss Kathy? Is that how many households it is? It's not by
It's usually
by
about,
acreage, is it?
it's usually about 10% in that range.
And how is that calculated?
Well, we eliminate the stormwater facility that can't count toward the green space, as well as the wetlands cannot count toward the green space. So it's developable land, I guess, is the best way of saying that.
And 10% is, it just seems kind of open-ended here. I guess
Yeah.
what I'm saying is.
Well, we could tighten that up to 10% to give a more quantitative number, if that's
Okay.
agreeable to you.
Mr. Dotson?
Some rough numbers that I came up with before the meeting, with 5% would be 7/10 of an acre out of 14. 7.5% would be basically 1 acre. 10% would be an acre and 4/10. So You know, we could come along somewhere in the neighborhood, giving up an acre for green space, an open area. I believe we could live with that. We could make it work.
Okay, thank you.
Any further- sir,
Go ahead. Do we need to put a, I would think you would want us to go ahead
We
and put a
we
percentage.
would
on
ask
it.
for a cap on that, yes, sir.
You say about 7.5% would be 1 acre.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Okay, and so Kathy, are you recommending 7.5 or 10?
Well, again, we were looking for flexibility, but if you wanted me to actually quantify something, the 1 acre would be at least the minimum, which I guess is a 7.5%.
If we leave it with the 10% cap, then that gives you the numbers that you need to work your figures. So it's not going to be any more than that. Is that right, Mr. Dotson? If we put in 10%, does that give you some solidity that you needed or what the maximum might be? And then it leaves Ms. Fields free to work with you up to that point.
If it would, yeah, if that's the maximum and we can work with it, if the number comes in a tad lower, then we're okay as long as we can reconcile it with Ms. Fields. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. Does that make sense, Kathy?
Yes, that's also what I'm saying, too.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Thank you. And it looks like on the sketch, I mean, I know from riding by, it looks like on the sketch that that's wooded all the way to the back of that 14 acres, but
Yes.
beyond that is a cleared field?
That's correct. It's
So-
bordered by trees on the north side. It's open along the railroad bed, the first part of it. As you get to the east is where the potential wetlands are, which, you know, it creates some challenges to have a workable site, but there again, like I said, that's what we do day in and day out, so.
Okay, yeah, I'm just hopeful that this green space could include leaving some trees at the back, so you're not just suddenly wide open.
Right, well, these will be, the back of the homes will be facing the walking trail, and the back of the homes will be facing the property, the county property to the north, or the properties in the county to the north. But no, we'll leave all the trees that we possibly can, but, you know, some will have to be removed for a home. You're aware of that.
So I didn't really get to see the sketch of the neighborhood until here tonight. It wasn't in our advance information, so I'm not real clear on that. But I did note that there was a traffic concern. When I was over there looking at it, it was hard to get out on the street, but I assume traffic studies will be done by the city if need be to deal with that.
Yes, ma'am, I have some additional sketches if you would like.
Please. It's just so hard to see it up there.
Well, as you know, the old professor said, pictures worth 1,000 words.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
And I apologize, I should have handed these out prior to. It's all right, Stacy. Yes, sir.
This is just preliminary anyway, you still have some studies to do, correct?
Yes, concept, that's all.
I'm good enough.
So you're looking at just one entrance from S&S Railroad Bed Road into the complex?
Two. One is across from the development, it's called Beacon Place. One is further to the east, in the area where the city of Statesboro lift station is.
Thank you.
They always hammer me on 2 entrances, one in, one out, so in case of an emergency, so we were able to squeeze this in. But as Mr. Boyum said, this is the first step in the process. This is what we could do. Be nice if we could get all this many lots, but
Right, Kathy, this is basically a max drawing, then they're gonna have to deal with wetlands and a few other things, finalize the road engineering and all that. And then it will likely be at or less lots than this, yeah, I mean, it can't go up, correct?
Right now, it's at 36, so that would be the max.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yes.
And Mayor, Council, Mr. Jason advised that a traffic impact analysis has already been done on that location. We won't have a negative impact on the traffic.
Mr. Dotson and Phil, my concern about the buffer, I don't care if it's a berm or if it's trees, I just know that from the people that I've spoken to, the ones that love walking and riding and running down the road, they don't wanna see the back of people's houses. But then again, the people that live there, they probably don't wanna see people walking in their backyard. I just wanna make sure that it will be heavily buffered.
I can speak for the developer, and he has definitely agreed to that, so yes, sir.
Works for me.
Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll bring council discussion to a close. Is there a motion to approve with council recommendations?
So move.
Second.
What are the recommendations?
Recommendations for staff to.
No, with staff recommendations?
No, council
Council, the staff recommendations was different from that.
Right, so that's what I'm getting at, what are the council?
Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
The 10%?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The 10% cap and the consideration that we're looking to preserve wetlands and mitigate environmental concerns.
10% cap doesn't seem right. I think the 7.5% minimum is what?
No, he was looking for this.
He's looking for a cap.
We're right, is low,
10% was cap.
10% cap.
As I understood, Ms. Fields, was a 10% cap. If we can work with her and we can come in at 7.5, 8, or whatever the number is, but at the very top would be 10%. But if we can work everything out to her satisfaction and to the developer's satisfaction, then if we come in at 7.5, then we're okay.
okay, I got it.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Is there a second?
Well, what was the, what's our council recommendation on the buffer?
Well,
Okay, because I said either way, as long as the people,
do we want the
right down
berm,
the
or
road can see.
do we want the shrubs?
Staff, tell us the difference on the advantage of the berm over just trees and landscaping.
Yeah, well, to me, the advantage to the berm is that as you're walking along the trail, you're not looking into people's backyards. It's gonna take a while for those shrubs to grow up, to adequately screen that backyard. With the berm, and I've seen it done very effectively, it would be a planted berm. It would have different shrubs on it and grasses and whatnot. It provides very quickly a screen from the backyard. And so I thought that would be an appropriate use, especially since you have the trail there. And I think the concerns have already been expressed about people walking along the trail. You want to protect that ambiance. And so that was the purpose for including the berm.
Thank you. So I hope it's not a lengthy deal, because it sounds good to me. I think I would prefer the berm there if y'all can still do it with that.
Come on. I'm sorry.
One of the concerns that is, if this thing is working, I guess y'all can hear me anyway, was the challenge of building a berm, number one, hauling the dirt in and doing everything that you need to do. Number one, you're going to be limited on the height of the berm. I mean, it's not going to be one that's 10 foot tall that's going to screen the whole backyards of these. You know, it would be just a minimum height due to the width that they're asking for. And the challenge of maintaining the watering, maintaining a berm, maintaining the vegetation on the berm, whereas a planting with a row of trees with the shrubs and everything in it would be easier to maintain as long it was just a strip that was 10 foot wide along the right of way of the road. That was his biggest concern.
The long-term maintenance.
Yes, ma'am. We had, here's a good example. The WL plastic plant out of the development park. As part of the conditions that the county put on there was a burn. We had a landscaper that went in and just did an immaculate job. It was fine for the first year. The WL Plastics did not maintain it, so what does it look like now? It's just a dead, it's a pile of dirt with dead vegetation on it. If we are allowed to go through there and plant it and maintain it as the developer wants to, we won't have that. It'll serve as a screen, as a buffer between the backyards and the travel lane of the railroad bed. You know, and also the travel lane is on our side, the walking trail is on the direct opposite side of this as well. So that was the biggest concern, was maintaining the berm, the vegetation along the berm, whereas it would be easier to maintain and help it if the berm was not there. That's it.
Because if it goes as expected and hoped, a few years down the road, the homeowners association there will be maintaining it.
Right.
And that's easier.
Yes, ma'am, and we can put that in the covenants as well, that would be part of their requirement. You know, the developers won't own it. Once they sell out the lots, they will have the homeowners association, and everything will be signed over to them.
Did you have something?
Mayor, maybe we might have another option to the berm. If we talk about possibly using, and y'all might not like this either, but versus the berm, one option would be a fence that would have plantings along the fence, but so people can't see in the folks' yards. They don't want to put a berm there.
That is one of the items that is in our ordinance as well, is to put a fence of a specific height with.
Yeah. Well, it's something we would consider, certainly. We would want to have design control over what that fence looked like, and to look at the planting plan as well, to make sure that it was adequately buffered with some green plantings. So that could be an option if that's something that you would prefer to see.
So we got a berm, we got a fence, and then we have trees mixed in with shrubs.
Right, exactly.
So the fence would still be 10 feet, that would be given a part of the buffer. Would the fence option that you're suggesting, would that be coming back closer to the road, or would you still have 10 feet and then a fence? I'm sorry, we're not engineers, we can't figure out the side.
You have a concern, and now's the time to address it. But we're offering a 10-foot vegetated buffer. Inside, either in the middle along one edge, but inside that 10-foot, which would be on the rear of these lots, you would either plant rows of trees, rows of shrubs, that kind of thing. If that is an option, as Mr. Penny suggested, and Jason, you could put a fence, and then you could reduce the number of plantings. There's any number of ways that you could do it, and to us, the simplest and the most aesthetic would be a green space along there. But we could accomplish it any number of different ways. So yes.
And we don't want to design it here tonight.
No.
But again, the concern that I've heard here is that it's along the greenway. And you don't want people looking, we want people to enjoy the greenway, but people that buy the houses also want to enjoy their privacy. And if you have the plantings, you have to wait for them really to mature. So the fence would provide immediate relief and might reduce the amount of plantings that would have to go along that wavelength. So you get the protection from the owners, but you don't have the intrusion into the backyards if you could.
Yes, sir. One other option too would be to have the vegetative buffer, and then the homeowners at their expense could erect a board fence. For instance, along Woodbridge subdivision, Josh Deere Road, a majority of those houses along there have a wood fence that back up the Josh Deere Road. Offers a privacy, no vegetative screening, but, plant the buffer. You could require the homeowners to do that. They could build a fence. They could do any number of things to help. But you would want something that would be uniform and aesthetically pleasing as well.
So I guess the
I
point
kind of,
is,
no, I do kind of like that. Because that still gives us the vegetation and then the homeowner can irregular bed, but there
Yes.
will be
Right.
uniformity.
Instead of putting the fence inside the buffer,
Yeah,
you know, you could do it what we suggested, and then the homeowners could,
and then, and plus that gives privacy from the neighbor too.
yes, yes.
So, yeah, so I kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something we can work out. I mean, I think we can make it nice.
Yeah. And can we get it to a point that we can move forward?
Summertime, isn't it?
No, well.
Personally, just speaking for me, I trust Mr. Dodson and Miss Kathy to work it out where everyone is pleased.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Me too.
Sorry to be so long.
So we need a
Thank you
motion.
for the questions and providing information.
Thank you.
So we need a motion. Council, what is your motion?
To approve with the 10% on it, with the council things that we've discussed.
Second.
Okay. Can you say that a little quicker?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, we'll move down to agenda item 14. Public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve application SE 20-11-01. East Georgia Regional Medical Center requests a special exemption to allow for the placement of mobile food trucks as temporary vendors in the old office zoning district on a 30.67 acre property located at 1499 Fair Road. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Kathy?
Thank you, sir. The applicant, East Georgia Regional Medical Center LLC, has requested a special exception to allow for the placement of mobile food trucks in the parking area of 1499 Fair Road. Zoning for this type of use is generally restricted to the CBD, Central Business District, the CR, Commercial Retail District, and the HOC, Highway Oriented Commercial District, under a temporary vendor certificate. It must be anchored to the location stated on said certificate. The applicable zoning for this area is the O district. So this is a case where this food truck is not in the allowed districts that allow restaurants. Therefore, it wants a special exception to allow for a food truck. I believe it's going to be twice a month in the parking lot of the hospital, which is zoned office. Okay, so that's.
Doctors and nurses want tacos.
They do.
Let's get it to them.
So,
They deserve it.
Let's do it.
anyway, so the.
We already have a restaurant.
Yeah.
We already have a
Go ahead.
public restaurant.
Yeah, go on. I feel good about this one.
So the hospital is outlined in red, and the small rectangle on the north end there is the site where the food truck.
We did.
Oh, you get it, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so why don't I just move to the end and give you the recommendation, okay? I
Okay.
think you all know where it is. Staff recommends approval of the special exception requested by SE 20-1101 with the following enumerated conditions. 1, approval of the special exception does not grant the right to make substantial structural changes to any building or impervious structure on the site. 2, no mobile food service may take a permanent space on the site. All mobile food services must complete a temporary vendor application for the allotted dates they are requesting to serve. And 3, the passage of a mobile food truck ordinance shall take precedence to the special exception, which has been referred for another reading. So, at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission on December 1st, 2020, the Commission voted to approve the special exception application 20-11-01 on a 4-0 vote. That is my presentation.
Right, thank you, Karen. Is there a motion to, well, hold on, let's close off, let's do it properly. Anyone here to speak for? Anyone, sit down. Is anyone here to speak against? All right, nobody here to speak against, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion by council?
They deserve it.
Okay, there we go. All right, Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
You approve it with staff recommendation?
Yeah.
Yeah, with staff recommendation.
So moved.
Yes.
Second, third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Eat your tacos.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you
Sorry you had to wait so long.
Absolutely, yeah, I know. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Consider, agenda item 15, consideration of motion to approve resolution 2020-33, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute, the Georgia Department of Transportation, local maintenance and improvement grant application for the Blue Mile Streetscape project. Any discussion by council? Seeing that there's no discussion by council, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's clean up South Main Street. All right, agenda item 16, consideration of motion to approve resolution 2020-34, a resolution designating urban redevelopment area. Mr. Penn.
Mr. Smith is going to take that one.
So what? Okay, go ahead.
Mayor and Council, this is a housekeeping motion in order to move forward on the urban redevelopment plan and the designation of the urban redevelopment area. That's when we required to secure that funding for the Luetta Mora and Gray Street Park. In order to get the ball rolling on that before we can have the public hearings as to the urban redevelopment plan, the first is the designation of need for an urban redevelopment area and the designation of the particular parameters of that urban redevelopment area. And those are set out in the attached maps, both with a written description and a map description. This would be in order for us to move forward on securing that funding.
So in order, we gotta approve this to get the money.
That's correct.
All right.
This is going to be a three-step process. We're going to need to do the redevelopment area, get a redevelopment plan, and then appoint the redevelopment agency.
Okay. In other words, we gotta do this to get the money.
This is a housekeeping action.
Any discussion by council?
Well,
All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve?
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we move down to agenda item 17, consideration of motion to approve resolution 2020-35, a resolution approving minor amendments to the 2019 to 2029 comprehensive plan. Mr. Pitt.
Mayor, during the work session, we discussed the need to amend the comprehensive plan and we prepare for grant applications. And so we're asking you to approve that action tonight. Get the process started.
All right, any discussion by council? Seeing that there's no discussion by council, is there a motion to approve? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we move down to agenda item 18, which is consideration of a motion to award a contract to Black Creek Construction in the amount of $62,500 for the design and construction of the Edgewood Park pedestrian bridge. This project is to be paid from 2018 T-SPLOST funds. Is there any discussion? I'm sorry, Mr. Penny, you want to give us some insight on this?
Mayor, this project, we have budgeted $75,000 for. We bid the project out. It came in under budget.
Okay.
We recommend it to you, and Black Creek Construction as a contract.
All right, thank you, Mr. Penny. All right, any discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's District 4 or District 5? 4. So, all right, congratulations, District 4. All right, we move down to agenda item 19, which is consideration of a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding, a memorandum of agreement for roadway and pedestrian lighting at the intersections of Veterans Memorial Parkway and Old Register Road. Mr. King.
Again, Mayor, in this case, Excelsior EMC is going to be installing some lighting on the roadway. However, DOT will not enter into an agreement with the private company, so the agreement has to be with the city of Statesboro, and then Excelsior has to comply. And so we recommend the approval of the memorandum of agreement with the Department of Transportation.
All right, thank you. Any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there's no discussion by council, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to agenda item 20, consideration of motion to award contract to TSW in the amount not to exceed $100,000 to perform downtown master plan. You know, we discussed this in our work session. Is there any further discussion by council in regards to this matter? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, seeing that there is none, we move down to agenda item 21. Consideration of a motion to approve a water contract to Golder Associates to perform a siting study in the amount of $34,925 for solid waste disposal operations. Mr. Payne.
Mayor, members of the council, at our transfer station and our inner landfill, we are sort of maxing out at the transfer station, so we need to do a siting study. And we're within 5 to 7 years of being out of space at the inner landfill. And so we can utilize funding from our landfill operation to pay for this siting study. And so we recommend to you that we contract with Golder Associates to do the siting study.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion by council? Any a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we move down to agenda item 22, which is consideration of a motion to award a contract to Yancey Brothers in the amount of $345,548 per Sourcewell Purchasing Contract number 032119-CAT for the purchase of a wheel loader for solid waste operations at the transfer station. This item will be funded by solid waste disposal fund operating revenue. Mr. Penn.
I really can't tell you anymore, Mayor. It's a big piece of equipment to move all that trash at the transfer station that you have to do it.
Okay.
I recommend it to you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion by council?
Yeah, that was my thing. It cost that much? Oh,
Oh, yeah, it's a huge, because it moves all that trash and it's on a schedule for replacement.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's show that agenda item 22 is passed. We'll move down to agenda item 23, which is other business from city council. Is there any other business from council?
Yes, I'll be doing another food giveaway on Saturday, from 11 to 1. I know there's a tour drive going on, so we're trying to, make sure that everybody can get to where they need to be on that day. So it's gonna be on, 515 Denmark, Boys and Girls Club. We're just trying to feed Statesboro, that's all.
Okay. What time is the tour drive?
That's not till Sunday.
The tour drive is Sunday. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, okay.
It's gonna be
Something
Sunday.
else is going on that day too.
Yeah.
There's early voting is on.
Oh, the tour drive,
Okay.
okay, I thought.
Okay, good.
Well, never mind.
No, we're gonna feed people. Yeah, absolutely. Is there any other business from city council?
I have something, I would like to suggest we have a work session on violence. I know that I've been barking about new cops, need more police, but I want to include everybody. I'd like for us to have a work session where we can include educators, clergy, mental health, anybody who has a stake in keeping our city safe. May take a while to get everybody ready to come to that, because I want it to be big and I want to have input from everybody.
Do you want to make that a work session or?
I'd like to make it a work session, or what's the other option?
Well, what we may want to do for that, because there may be more people to show up, is choose a different space and then just have.
I'm thinking that too.
And I know.
And I'd like for everybody beforehand to have their recommendations or their suggestions beforehand, so, so we're not just talking and asking a bunch of questions. We'd like to have a lot of those questions answered before we get together.
Okay.
So we don't have to.
I know that we've done council meetings outside of chamber before. I think this may be a good time to do that, considering the topic. And then that way we can get feedback from the people and then move into our meeting as well.
Okay.
That's what my thought process is. And we've done this, we've done one at Georgia Southern.
I was about to suggest we haven't had one this year at Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
Let's do it at Georgia Southern.
Well, I would rather do this, inside of, in the city proper, because of the neighborhoods we want to target. So let's kind of play with it. We don't have to make a decision, but I'm in agreement with that. I'm thinking maybe the second meeting in February. Well, that's when our next work session will be. When do we go on retreat?
March.
March.
March 11th, 12th, and 13th. March 12th and 13th.
Do we want to do that before or after retreat?
Before.
Before.
Earlier the better for me. I think it's a great idea to have all the stakeholders coming together to
Yeah.
discuss the well-being of the city.
Okay. So,
But
go
it
ahead.
doesn't have to be a work session. Y'all could set up a separate special meeting
Yeah.
for that. Because you go on retreat on the 11th, the 12th and the 13th.
Okay.
So you could be at the end of February. And just thinking about when people might come out.
Maybe on a Saturday.
Letting the days get a little bit longer. So because when we start our work session at 3:30, people are still at work.
Yeah, for something like this, we may want to do this on a Saturday, during the day.
This gives us a month and a half to think about it.
Okay,
So
and then if we do it on a Saturday, then we can do maybe the first Saturday in March.
We can do something like that.
Council, what are y'all thinking?
I'm looking at my calendar. You said the first Saturday in March?
Yeah,
It's fine with me.
Venus?
I'm fine with whatever.
Okay.
I believe I'm fine with it too.
All right. Councilwoman Shay, Barr?
The first Saturday in March, March 6th.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as I know, sounds good, and I like the idea of gathering, and I like the idea of sending out information in advance, so we're not just coming in,
Yes.
meeting everybody for the first time and not knowing anything about who they are or what they're bringing to the table.
Okay.
So get some information out in advance, a questionnaire or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that, part of the One Borough is the Violence Reduction Task Force. And so that's something that this needs to be something we task them with as well. Okay.
And Mayor, the other thing I would just mention is hopefully our numbers are gonna get better.
Mm-hmm.
So that if we wait a little bit longer, we can meet and
Yeah.
not be inhibited as much.
Yeah.
We'll probably still be wearing masks.
Yeah, oh yeah, no doubt, yeah. Yeah, so the first Saturday, so let's go ahead and make that. Okay. Anything else from other business from city council?
Yes, please. I'm sorry if I dropped the ball on communication earlier about a memorandum of understanding. Are you talking about maybe we want to do that? About the food drops?
Oh, yeah. I was leaving, I was trying to get everything else out of the way, and then go into that.
Well, I'll let you do that then.
Okay.
The other thing that I wanted to mention is just to remind everybody that Roy and Deborah Thompson are still doing their TNT Farms, which is just to offer a respite, going right through and look at pretty Christmas lights and listen to Christmas music. He's collecting tons of food to give to people who need it. And most of his is then passed on through Christian Social Ministries, and they are open on Mondays from 1 to 5 at their location on North Zarrower. So that's still happening. They've got food and they pass it out, and you don't have to have a form or be vetted or anything.
Yeah.
If you're hungry, you pull up there and tell them, and they'll put some in your car.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But Lane, can we get that food drive on Saturday? Can we get that on the city's webpage? Thank you.
Anything else from council? Okay. Seeing that it's not, one thing I wanted to bring before council, a couple of weeks ago, we allotted funding for housing and for rent and mortgage, utilities, as well as business grants. What I want to propose to council is that we adjust our utilities. That's the area that we've spent the least amount of money in. I think we've spent about $4,200 in that area. To remove $13,000 from that space and to contract with Vita Borough to do two emergency food drops for the people in our community. So I wanted to bounce that off of you guys and hopefully get you guys to support that.
How much would that leave for utilities?
We spent about 4,200, we put 75, so that's putting us at
$62,000.
How much?
62.
62,000, so they'll still leave us $62,000 in that fund.
And we've only spent 40, we've spent 45.
4,500 bucks,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I'm in agreement with that, Mayor. I think that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of, concerned as to why the money is not being spent.
Well, the utilities is a $175 cap, so that's not, so that's that can get hit a lot, and not take that down that much.
And as you go into the winter, there will be more.
Yeah.
There'll be more.
Yeah. So, and hopefully we can get some local funding supported by this next, CARES package, yeah. Yeah, so with that being said, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We'll move down to agenda item 24, which is city manager's comments.
Yeah, Mayor and members of the council, I have several items just want to mention to you. On December 17th, we are doing our Christmas lunch for our employees. However, because of the pandemic, we will not be eating together. They will simply come to Uncle Shug's, they will receive their food and carry out, and then they will go their separate ways. We wanted to do lunch, but the last thing we wanted to have happen is to bring all our employees together, and then I lose half of them because they were eating without their mask. So I did want to say, I think we started at about 11:30, and the employees will just come through, they will get their place, and then they will go. And so I wanted to mention that to you. Wanted to thank you for that as well. And if you have a chance to be there, please come by and greet the employees as they're coming through.
Can we get a plate?
Yes. And if you can't get there, we might bring it to you. I did want to also mention to you, send it out to you in the report. United Way so far has spent $32,340. They've had 275 applications. They did take the applications down at the end of last week. They are back up. Sometimes they have to take them down so they can get caught up. So they've helped 22 families, and they have stopped 11 evictions. Action Pack, the one doing the utilities account, they've assisted 35 families, and a total of $4,600 has been spent. Small business assistance, we're providing grants to 34 businesses for a total of $67,250. So we have about $8,000 left, or just under $8,000. And so we'll probably just open up for the balance of that, to spend the full $75,000. And so want you to be aware of that. And we have sent some checks out. I think Ms. Cindy said, we probably, in the next week or so, we see about $56,000 going out the door to small businesses. And with that, I did want to share with you, I had a conversation with Steve Pennington from the hospital. And Steve wanted me, and he said this to me last night, he said, please express to the mayor and the council his appreciation for how y'all have been so supportive through this whole pandemic. And the mayor and always asking questions, and they were selected as the business of the year by the chamber. And he said, but one of the things that makes him really feel good is that the support he feels and the cooperation from the city and with the hospital. And so he wanted me to express his appreciation to the mayor and council. And so I told him, I said, we have a meeting tomorrow night, and I'll be glad to just mention that to you.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I just simply want to say to you is, Mayor and Council, thank you for everything you do for us and for our employees. And just want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you and your family.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, one more thing, I would be remiss if I didn't say this.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Governor John Millage signed an act of the Georgia legislature in the capital city of Louisville, Georgia, creating the town of Statesboro with a GH on December 19th, 1803. So we got a birthday coming up in.
Man, we gotta start celebrating.
So how many birthdays is that?
Sir?
1893?
217 years old.
Lane, send a birthday shout out. Send a birthday shout out. We're gonna celebrate that, absolutely. All right, so we'll move down to agenda item 25, any public comments? All right, seeing that there is none, we go to agenda item 26. Is there a need for executive session?
For personnel matters, Mayor.
Okay. All right, so with that being said, is there a vote to go into executive session? Well, hold on one second. Consideration of a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, real estate, and/or potential litigation in accordance with OCGA 50-14-3B. Is there a motion, or is there a vote to go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Good job, Sandy.
Oh, like I'm the peripheral mayor. I do appreciate that.
December the 19th.
Do you approve of that?
Hey.
Hey.
He had to speed this up. I thought the one thing that was gonna slow us down.
Yeah,
I'm turning off. Yeah. Okay. Christmas party.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.